What's going on, everybody? Who's having a great day, great night, wherever you're watching this from, trying to knock out this afternoon walk. Really quick, your level of communication has a lot to do with your love language. Your level of communication has a lot to do with your love language. Let's talk about that. People will always talk about how much they love you, but their love language, the language that they speak to you, has a lot to do with how much they love you. Regardless of what you've been through, regardless of where you're at, if a person loves you, they will change for the sake of what you all have and where you all are going. Most of the time, a lot of us, we never are able to embrace the factor of being able to understand that in order to love someone or to develop a closer bond with them, we have to communicate a little bit more. Your communication has a lot to do with who you are as an individual. And the problem is that we become so distant and we become so comfortable and complacent with where we're at in our relationship, we stop growing. That growth is a factor of a lot of things. The number one issue in the relationships, people that have been married for years, is communication. Effective communication has been the deciding factor of a lot of divorces. And you hear people say they just grew apart. They don't know why they grew apart, but they just grew apart. It could have been a lot of issues. It could have been because they got married young. It could have been because they fell out of love. But the number one reason is because they stopped communicating effectively. When you're not able to communicate effectively, it not only affects you, but it affects your partner. A person cannot fight for a relationship by themselves if there's no real communication. A person could talk about how much they love you and miss you, but if you're not able to reciprocate what the person is really trying to say or display your love for them, then there's a big issue. And again, everybody's love language is different. We speak different, we think different, we respond different. There's different levels. Some people might be on level 1, while some people might be on level 10. And just because you're on level 10 doesn't mean that they don't love you. But if they're not able to express themselves, if they're not able to articulate the way they love you, then you have an issue. Because maybe what they have is a feeling more than the reality of what love is. Love is sacrifice. It's sacrificing who you are for the sake of your relationship or your marriage in order to change and become a better man or better woman. But a lot of us are not willing to do that because what we do, we continue to put ourselves in a position that all we're doing is making excuses for the reason why we cannot do. I tell couples this all the time: take ownership for your action. If she's coming to you and she's complaining about something, it's not the time to say what you do, what you don't do. What you have to do is say, you know what, you're right, I'll get better. And if he's coming to you talking about you're not communicating effectively, you need to take ownership and learn how to communicate. Read books, listen to videos, sit down and talk to life coaches. Figure out something that will enhance what you all have. Because what's going to happen is you all are going to do nothing more than go back and forth. And then eventually, one of you all are going to pull away. You're going to pull away because you're not going to complain about what you used to complain about. You're not going to ask them for their attention, the time. You're not going to ask them to go to the park with you anymore. You're not going to ask them to call you, text you, email you. You're not going to ask for none of that. You're eventually going to pull away. And what's going to happen is they're going to know that something's not right. They're going to know. And the person that's pulling away is telling the person they love, you have to fix this. I can't fix this by myself. I've done everything I can do. And believe it or not, they might be studying on what you all are dealing with. They might be reading books. Tell you all this all the time. Get books, watch videos, talk to therapists, get relationship life coaches, get some kind of help. But this is what they are doing. And as they do this, they're pulling back. You're wondering what's going on. Nothing's wrong with them. They still love you. They still want the marriage, they still want the relationship, but they're exhausted. So instead of going over and over and over again and banging over your head about what you're not giving them and offering them, they pull back and they allow you to put yourself in a better position so that you can be able to see what they're talking about. Because what happens is you'll have one person that's feeding the relationship while the other person is just existing in the relationship. The person that's feeding the relationship is the person that's always they're able to communicate better. They're able to talk about love. They're able to talk about their feelings. They're able to express themselves. While the other person is not an effective communicator, and what they will say, they'll say, I love you too. I'm happy I found you. I'm happy we're together. These are the text messages you're getting back. When you get on the phone, they can't communicate. They really can't say nothing. So one person to be dominating the conversation while the other person just sitting there listening. Now, something along the lines went wrong. Doesn't mean that he doesn't love her because she's the one always communicating. It just means that something has happened in his life that's forcing him not able to communicate effectively. You know, he doesn't have any literacy problems. He's able to read, he's able to write. You know, he's an engineer, so he's smart. He has his degree, so that's another plus. So why is it that we're able to be effective in every other area of our life, but when it comes to our marriage and our relationships, we seem to fall short? That is a sign of a person that has become independent and self-sufficient so long that when they get in a relationship or they get into a marriage, they don't know how to operate in the relationship because they're used to doing everything by themselves. And because they're used to doing that, they don't know how to effectively communicate. And this is the reason that couples seem to go through this cycle and this spell of things that they have to deal with and things that they're going through because there's no real growth. So, communication, y'all. Your love language has a lot to do with effective communication. You can't say that you love someone, but you're not willing to offer them what they need. You can't say you love someone and you're always being defensive. You can't say you love someone and no matter what they say to you, they're always asking for more and you have an issue with them asking for more. You can't do that. Because what happens in return is that there is no real growth. If they're saying we need to spend more time together, and every time you all get together or you all talk on the phone, you feel like they're always trying to find fault in trying to make you all's relationship better. I'd rather be with someone that wants to want to have a healthy relationship than to just be with someone that just wants to be with me. I'd rather be with someone that wants to work on our relationship, work on where we're going, continue to focus on our goals, continue to go overboard and not make excuses for the reason why they can't do what they do. Now, I know that's easier said than done because for some reason, all of us always find a reason to always put things in the perspective that hurts us. All right? So I need you all to think about that. Last but not least, always remember, there's still a moment of your life, God is bigger than this moment, and that's the reason why we got to continue to press. Have a blessed and wonderful day.